Good afternoon, everyone. Today is November 16th, Thursday. Hope all is well. We had a mostly flat day on all the indices today and still within the channel. So the NASDAQ is up about 10 points, 0.07%, not much of a move. In fact, if you look at how the NASDAQ performed, it started off and actually did a very good high, almost about 100 points, and then down again about 100 points, and then ended up mostly flat. So I'm still not sure this is indicating anything other than consolidation. On the daily chart, it's still at the double top area, not yet breaking down. So the bulls are strong. The bears want to push this down based on the double top, but I don't think this is giving up anytime soon. There's no news actually to be able to push the NASDAQ downward unless you think about the fact that the stocks are just valued very rich. So NASDAQ was mostly flat. The S&P 500 also flat, roughly about 5 points gain, 0.12% up, still within the channel, broke out of the resistance a couple of days ago, as I said. And the next resistance is a little bit higher at 45.42, which is about 40 points, 30 to 40 points higher, still within the channel, still doing very well, nothing to worry about yet. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, on the other hand, actually fell down a little bit, again, very slightly, so I'm not going to call this a big loss. 45 points, very nice move up for the year, for the last week, and then consolidating in this range. It's got a double top here, 1, 2, double top. So it's likely going to move a little bit lower, but most likely it might end up a little bit, maybe at the 34 zone, but 34.75 zone, but still early. Don't think it is anything to worry about. Mostly flat days where I would end up. One of the stocks that showed up on the screening is Intel. Now, Intel is near a 52-week high at 43.35 for the day. 42.40 was the immediate high, but look at that candle. That candle is fabulous on the day. So let's look at why it is showing up on the radar and go through our 5-step analysis. Step number 1 is the income statement. I start with the income statement on an annualized basis from about roughly $60 billion in revenue and about 40 to close to about 50%, 50 to 60% actually, gross margins, and roughly about 20% net margins. This has grown to about 63 billion. So it went up all the way to 77 and then has been declining. That's not a good sign. Look at the decline. It's 20% decline, 2021 to 2022. Transition year, I think. So it's going to be a little bit difficult for Intel in the short term. But if you look at it from a quarterly basis, the stock has gone from losing about 20% year over year, 30% losses, and now maybe this is the reason why it's showing up on the radar screen. The percentage loss on a quarterly revenue basis, year over year comparisons have gone down. This is mostly because if you look at it, the comparables are much easier. Q3 of 2023 versus Q3 of 2022. It's already been declining from 18 billion down to 15 billion. So the comparable is very easy. In fact, the Q1 comparables would probably be excellent because the market just absolutely tanked it by 42%. So it should reflect on the stock, as you can imagine. So overall, not bad. It's lost a ton of money in the meanwhile. Profitability is literally non-existent. So revenue has been going down. Expenses have been plowing money into building fabs in the US. They have a decent balance sheet, $180 billion in cash, debt of about 50 billion, close to 50 billion. Not perfect, good, no yellow flags, but the big yellow flag obviously is revenue is declining. So this is a pure technical play. And maybe to a certain extent, you're betting on the fact that Intel can gain back because of the semiconductor upturn. It can gain back once the PC market. Remember, back in 2020, 2021, because of COVID, the PC market really took off. And then after that, 2021, 2022, there's been a decline in the PC and the mobile market in terms of customers and consumers buying new PCs and new mobiles. But now the expectation is it will go back up again. On a valuation basis, well, they've been losing money a little bit. So this is probably the reason why. Let's go to the annualized and you'll get a better chance. Yeah, valuation-wise, 13 times earnings last year, probably a little bit less this year. Price to sales is not bad for a company that is declining in revenue. And if you look at the margins, 40% gross margins, 2% net margins on the quarterly basis, but roughly about 30%, 20 to 30% is where they'll end up eventually at steady state. Okay, so now that we know that, the big red flag, as I mentioned to you guys, is will revenue start to actually grow as opposed to will revenue continue to decline and maybe not decline as much. One of the stocks that showed up on the radar screen, as I mentioned, was Intel. We went through the fundamentals. Now we're going to go through the technicals. So what does this chart look like? It did a consolidation phase early on, huge meteoric rise during the 2000 timeframe. This was the days of the dot-com bubble, and then a phenomenal decline, and then mostly just consolidation phase, a little bit of an up phase in 2014, again consolidation, a little bit of an up phase again to 2018, and then I would still call this maybe a consolidation and followed by a steep stage 4 decline. So rapid rise, consolidation, steep decline, and now in the very long term, on the monthly chart, it's actually going up. So there is a bunch of maybe resistance here at the 47 mark, and there's more resistance above that as well. 24 mark, but realistically, even at this mark, look at the number of touches, 32, 1, 2, 3, and then 4 touches. It's 32, 47. That seems like a good band, but we will continue to refine it as we see more data. On the weekly chart, wasn't a decline. So you can see this channel. It's respected that channel and been consistent. After the consistent channel, it's actually consolidated. Let's draw that out. This period to this period was mostly a consolidation phase. And then now, after another consolidation phase in the 35 range, this is another consolidation period. Just to make sure that I draw these things out for you, it's actually broken out of that consolidation phase. The resistance was at 38, moved right nicely out of the consolidation resistance phase to 43. So this is a breakout. Clear breakout today with the 6.7% growth is another breakout. So on the weekly chart, it's trying to break out. After consolidation here, broke out a little bit. Look at the personality of the stock. I'm going to remove these just to be able to show you what you should be looking for so you get a sense if you want to do this yourself. Look at that chart. The personality of the chart is one nice, beautiful week, consolidation, and then rise up again. So higher highs, higher lows. So if you want to draw that out, just to show you, this is the higher high. This is the weekly chart, and this is the higher low. So that's the channel. It's been going upwards on this channel, which is a good sign. Now on the day, so I see some resistance even here at the 44.5, but realistically, if you had to do, let's do one of these things that a lot of people like to do, which is the volume profile chart. Let's look at the volume profile in the 43 timeframe, and that'll give you a little bit of a better sense. Anchored volume profile, I'm going to draw it at this stage. So it shows you that a lot of buying has been occurring. This is the volume profile. It tells you how much volume has been bought at what price. So 29 is definitely very good resistance. And even this whole zone up to 36 is a good resistance. So I'm going to say I'm not too worried about where it might end up, but overall, this is a good place to be. 39, 29, this is kind of a good zone in some senses. So it's going to move up at least. There's a bunch of resistance even here at the 44.68 timeframe, but 47.36, I think the magical resistance might come a little bit higher, maybe even at the 48 range, but this is definitely looking to be able to go much higher on the weekly basis. On the daily chart, the clarity on the channel is a lot better here. Look at that. So if you draw the channel backwards, you can even see that it's been on a consistent channel. So what does the channel indicate? Higher highs, one, higher high, higher high. This was a little bit of a break. Higher high, higher high, higher low. That means the trend is up and to the right, which is a good sign. These are all exceptions. It doesn't mean that it is perfectly following this model, but it's doing a good job. So when it breaks out, it seems to be breaking out to the bottom a little bit more. So that's the risk that you've got to be aware of. But on the daily chart, look at these candles. This is a beautiful pattern. This is a very nice bull flag. I would expect a little bit of consolidation, either a flag or a pennant, and then a move up to 47. That's what I like about the stock, Intel. The only challenge, let's look at the moving averages are all pointing up and to the right, which is a good sign. The short-term moving average, 20-day moving average is very strong. This is a worry for me. Look at the RSI. It's clearly signaling that it seems to be a little bit in the overbought stage. So I would expect a little bit of a pullback. So this is what I would expect. Most likely it's going to do something like either that one, expect that, or it's going to do something like this. If it does this kind of a pattern, then I'm not going to be very excited very, very much. You still get a little bit of a high movement up, But if it forms a flag to the top, that's a much better sign. This is a much better sign, and I'll expect it to go up back again. So I'd expect a pennant or a flag and a move up back again. Intel's looking good. Thank you for watching. Appreciate your feedback. Please send me your comments and your notes and let me know what you think.